Okay, I'm pretty sure the stream is still lagging. Um, I'm gonna do a little check on my phone just to see how bad it is, to see if it's bearable. Um, but yeah, I don't know what the problem is. My internet seems fine. I don't know if it's my computer, if it's Streamlabs. I don't know. So let me know as I'm looking at the stream. How bad is it? Is it bearable? Is more what I'm looking for. I know it's not good right now. Uh, let's see. It's a little behind, apparently, the stream is. So, I don't know what's up with that. On my phone, it's very behind. Are we good? I feel like we're okay. I feel like we're okay. It's a little laggy, though. I think it's a little laggy. So, we're going to make do. I'm going to try my best. If it's really noticeably bad, chat, let me know. But hello, guys. I wanted to do the stream a little bit to kind of talk about, I would say, everything in the community right now as we're heading into 2026 and getting into really, I think, one of the most important years for A Song of Ice and Fire. This year has been a very, I would say, I don't know if I'd say bad year, but it's been a very nothing happening type of year. Like George R. R. Martin hasn't put anything out about Winds of Winter. No news on any of the, novellas, more of those being made, Fire and Blood Part 2. So from the book side of things, nothing good. The more time that goes on when nothing comes out just means that the series is not being completed. It just means Winds of Winter gets less and less likely each and every year. So on the book side of things, not looking great. George R. R. Martin mentally seems very depressed over losing his friend. He seems like he's not in a great place. You tie that with he's getting older. We don't get younger. Nobody defeats time. He doesn't necessarily seem to be in the best, health, just based on videos I saw of him from WorldCon, I believe is the name. I always get all the cons confused, but WorldCon, I believe. JC, himself told me that, George did need help trying to get out of seats and stuff like that. Like, he's getting older, and so it's going to be harder to put your body through writing pages and pages and pages and pages. So from the book side of things, this year was not good for book readers. I made a video, I believe, closer to the beginning of this year, talking about the community and how I think it's not dead, but it's slowly dying. In terms of the interest of the book series, it's slowly going down because we've had such a long gap that theories can only hold people over for so long. And so I've noticed that in my own content, even though, well, not this week necessarily, but the last couple of weeks, my channel's done really well. Like, probably one of the best months of the channel's lifespan. But still, like, just in terms of, you look at major creators, almost all major creators' numbers are down, all that kind of stuff. This year was not a good year for A Song of Ice and Fire, book-wise. Then we shift to shows. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms was supposed to come out this year, and it got pushed back. So that was another thing, was not good for this year, and so we have to wait until the beginning of next year. Knight of the Seven Kingdoms scares me a little bit because the show is still reshooting in a show that you would assume should already have been done by now, given the fact that the show was supposed to be coming out around this time. Plus, we had George saying he'd already seen at least rough, drafts of the episodes and had given his stamp of approval. And now, again, it seems like they're doing a lot of reshooting. I wonder what that's for. Is it a good thing, a bad thing? We don't know at this point. I tend to lean towards a lot of reshooting being on the, badder side, but who knows? So that wasn't good. So A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms pushed back to 2026. House of the Dragon Season 3. That's not any big news. That was always going to be next year. We've heard filming coming out, some of the leaks and stuff. I haven't followed the leaks as much as a lot of people in chat probably have. Again, it just kind of aligns with my interest. I'm not overly out seeking these leaks and stuff like that. So I know generally some of the stuff that's going to happen in Season 3 that I'm not really going to talk about in today's video, unless you guys really want to talk about it. But, I think I saw a post on social media that I think really represented where the community is at right now. If you look at the hype that we had for Season 2 of House of the Dragon compared to Season 3, it's almost completely different. Now, the thing is, we're still almost a year out from House of the Dragon Season 3, so the hype isn't going to start really building up until we start getting into spring of next year, or really, I would say directly after Night of the Seven Kingdoms finishes. So part of it is that, but I'd say also like the discourse around the anticipation for the season is not what it once was. So it's interesting. We're in a really tough spot because I don't think in any phase of A Song of Ice and Fire related content, the author, the show, are we headed in a good direction? And so that's why I wanted to make this stream. I think that this stream is important because 2026 to me is very, very, very important for the future of this community, of the future of this space, because it's going to be very revealing on a couple of things. Will the A Song of Ice and Fire universe have the ability to continue? And it's going to start off with a huge big test in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It's going to follow that up then with House of the Dragon. So that's part of it. That's one side of it that we'll talk about a little bit, but I want to introduce that part of it. So the shows are going to be very relevant to, will that continue? Then the books. I think the books with George, I think is a really important year. I think George, this next year should actually come to a decision on, is he going to prioritize the books? Is he going to write them? I know right now his plan is he's going to write the books. But if you want to look at it realistically and you sit back and you go, okay, but George, you haven't gotten through much of this book in years. And I know that's for all these different reasons. But what I would hope from George, where he's getting older and, the series is not getting done, to take a hard look in the mirror. I know there's been a lot of rumors about possibly people offering to finish the series, and there's been a lot of discourse in the community about whether George should let somebody else do it. I think for whatever George wants to do with the series, this coming year, he should figure it out. Either prioritize Winds of Winter, or tell the fans that he just can't get it done, or he can't get Dream of Spring done, or just, give it to another. Whatever George wants to do, I feel like, for the sake of the fan base that's been waiting, 14 years, going into 2026, it's been a crazy amount of time. The only thing keeping the community alive are, creators and the shows at this point. I think that the next year should be a big year for telling us where is Winds of Winter going to go from here. We had a report come out from Red Team Review that the series is maybe 70 to 75% of the way done. Some people took this as really big news. I took this as we've known this for the last 2 to 3 years. That tells me George has written nothing, or has written maybe a chapter or two, or maybe a couple. Like, nothing significant. Nothing to go from, we were 2/3 of the way done, or a little more than that, to now we're close to the end. Like there's been none of that. So, yeah, and just like what Matt says in the chat, George has been 70% finished for years. That's the case. He's been that way for years now. That's not new information. So let me address chat. Let me, what do you guys think about all that stuff? What do you think? Also, yes, I did cater to you guys in the intro, first song anyway, with giving you guys some old head music. So you're welcome. Sky, some people would argue that Maegor did stay loyal to the Targaryen dynasty, if anything. Also, I do not run ads. I do not run any type of monetization on my streams. So copyright songs, anything like that doesn't matter to me. They're not going to copyright strike my channel. What they'll do is they'll flag it. And then if I was making any money off these streams, that money then would go to whoever claims it, more or less. That has happened now to 2 of my videos in the last, 3 weeks, more or less. It's been kind of sus because it was both the Targaryen videos. Unfortunately, they... HBO, it's not even HBO. It doesn't even show up HBO on the person that claims it, but whoever does their claims claimed my Viserys video, which was my number 1 out of 10 video for the last 2 or 3 weeks, which was super annoying. They claimed that for nonsense, it's complete fair use, but based on the way the YouTube system works, creators have no power over anything. I can argue it's fair use. It'll go back to the company. They'll go, don't really give a shit. It's our money, so we'll just take it. And then the creator does nothing. The creator can literally do nothing afterwards, which I don't mind. This is a tangent, but I don't mind them doing that. I mean, I do mind, but If it was just the simple fact of HBO claimed the video before it went out. So for instance, for all of my members, I've actually been pretty early. Almost all of my videos have been a week early. So that means they've been up on my channel, they've been uploaded, they've gone through the YouTube system of checking it, and it stayed up there for a week. Nothing happens, comes out 2 days later, I get a claim. After that point, I can't do anything. I can't re-upload the video. It's going to do significantly worse. It throws off the entire algorithm, and it destroys that video that I spent hours and hours and hours on, or hours time on. And that's happened twice now. So I didn't mind it too much with the Daenerys video because that video got no views, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, so HBO has basically been stealing from me, so that's been cool. But yeah. Another year of saying maybe this will be our year with a little less enthusiasm in our voice. It kind of, this is the way the A Song of Ice and Fire community reminds me of. For football fans, you'll get this reference. For football fans, every year Dallas Cowboy fans say, this is our year. Same thing with Song of Ice and Fire fans. I have not been one of those people for a while. I think that we will get at least what George has of Winds of Winter, but George has not given any indication on anything. So, yeah. Hi, JC. How are you? Also, everybody wish JC a congratulations. He got to 1K today. Or not maybe today, but yesterday, I guess. So, that's pretty cool. I remember getting to 1K. That was a really big moment for me on this channel. I appreciate everybody, that supported since then and that was there before then. So, yeah, it was a big moment. I'm really happy for you, JC. So, given I've known you for a good amount of time now, so it's great that you're able to be there now. They always reshoot, though, probably to add certain scenes in post. Yeah, but here's the difference. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms has been in reshoots for upwards of a month. When the episodes have already been roughly put together and the show was scheduled to come out this year, like around this time, that is concerning to me. Because if George had already seen them roughly, and you also don't have CGI or anything like that. Like, what are they reshooting? Are they putting in new episodes? Are they thinking that maybe some stuff didn't work? I don't know. Also, I do want to watch the Harry Potter movies again. So, yeah, that's a nice reminder. The Harry Potter movies, I feel like, are always a nice watch in fall and then as you get into winter. Also, George is almost not even writing his blog anymore. Yeah, George, even if George was writing his blog post, there's nothing in there that is ever relevant, really. Like, every once in a while, he'll respond to, for instance, I think he responded to, well, I know he responded to the idea of somebody else writing his work. That seems to be, this is the I think part, that he was directing that at Red Team Review and Preston Jacobs' video discussing that idea. Not sure. That's not 100% fact or anything. That's just, I'm assuming because there's just, they're large creators in the space. And, they brought up that idea. Instantly afterwards, George makes a post. So, George, at this point, I think after the House of the Dragon, explosion thing, is not a blog, has just become something that he doesn't really, put much into anymore. New leak. They're going to give Alicent her gun. Wouldn't be surprised. And yeah, that's another part. And don't get me wrong. Obviously, House of the Dragon, there will be hype for it. And especially as we get closer to it, we'll get more hype. But what I'm saying is, there was when House of the Dragon season 1 finished and we were waiting for season 2, there wasn't this dead space in between. Everybody was really hyped. I remember my fan base was really excited. And a part of it is I'm the creator, so a lot of my fan base might reflect my own views because maybe they've listened to the show, heard my thoughts, maybe they're influenced by that. But still, there wasn't, in House of the Dragon season 1 to 2, all throughout those 2-year gap or whatever, there was people excited for it. People would, bring it up in streams and we'd talk about stuff. Now it's just not really that at all. And I don't see it on social media that much in terms of discussing stuff for it outside of leaks and stuff. But I don't know. Wins 2026? Yes, Twist. I hope so. I heard a rumor that George is 70% done with wins. He's been with, again, as Matt said, George has been 70% done for years now. That's not really new news. That's more just confirmation he hasn't written much at all. Did you see the new castings for the Harry Potter TV series, Grease? I have seen a couple of them. I did see that Professor Flitwick was brought back. I've seen some of the other castings. I know there's a little bit of controversy. I think for the most part, they've done a good job. I'm not really going to dive into it. I'm not a fan of the Professor Snape casting for reasons because it changes the character of Professor Snape in terms of how we look at the character. Whole different thing, but yeah. Hopefully 70% done with the remaining 30%. Bold of you to assume. 2024 killed my enthusiasm for A Song of Ice and Fire content for two reasons. The second half of House of the Dragon Season 2 and giving into the hype around 2024 that a wins announcement was imminent but got nothing. I think that's just where the community's been at this point. We've been teased so many times that at this point, people have stopped caring. Like, for instance, so George R. R. Martin, if he said today, I have an announcement to make. Yes, of course. People would be excited to see what is going to be that announcement. But obviously people would be a lot cynical, be like, oh, this is just going to be some random thing about Wildcard or any of this stuff. He's kind of lost, I think, a bit of that trust that people have because we're getting stuff like the Direwolf announcement, which was played up as this huge whole thing and then it was just nothing. What do they claim on your videos? Video B-roll footage? Yeah, so this is the thing that makes no sense about it. So the way that fair use should work, this is the way I guarantee you if I went to court and I had the money to pay lawyers, I would obviously win the claim, but it's like I don't want to just do that over like, what, that video might make $40. Is their claim is, well, you're using a video clip that's 8 to 10 seconds long. So that is showing Game of Thrones or whatever. But here's the difference. The clip has no audio. The clip also, depending on which seasons it is, which I'm pretty sure the ones they claimed were the earlier seasons, I have like the movie filter thing, so it's not full screen. It's like how you would view a movie. It has the black bars above and below it. That's how you make things look cinematic. It's obviously, and then I'm also talking over it. It's like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. It is literally theft. It is quite literally big companies take from little guy and YouTube just backs it because they get their money through these big companies. And so obviously they're going to back the big companies when the crazy part is the creators are the people keeping people on their platform. But they also have a monopoly because YouTube is the video platform that obviously people are going to upload their content on here because it has so many users already that, you know, people can't just threaten, oh, I'm going to go to some other platform. Good luck. It's not as many users. Your content's probably going to do worse. So it's just the thing of creators get shafted by the big companies. So, yeah. This is the first A Song of Ice and Fire content I've watched in 2025. Philip, you know, I would say that's crazy, but I don't think that's the case. Like, I've even seen in my own viewers, right? I've seen people go through their phases. Like, I've seen certain viewers are in every stream and then, you know, they get phased out and then maybe they'll come back every once in a while. It's just that A Song of Ice and Fire, how many years in a row can you watch theory videos? How many years in a row can you watch people going through the same type of ideas? Like, think about it. You know, we're so far away from dance now. How many new theories do you really ever actually see? Because the books have been dissected to death. Like, yes, there are theories that come out every once in a while, and some of them I think are just theories. It's like, they're theories. They don't have any like merit to them, but they're theories. They're interesting to discuss, I guess. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, like you can't expect people to wait forever. So. My hype is mostly in other franchises now, like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Witcher. Yeah, I'm really excited to see the Harry Potter show. I'm really excited to see the Lord of the Rings movie that's going to come out. I'm excited to see how they do Percy Jackson season 2. So, you know, we'll see. Song of Ice and Fire is the Minnesota Vikings of book series. I wouldn't say that because the Minnesota Vikings have never won a Super Bowl, whereas I would say Song of Ice and Fire has won multiple Super Bowls, and then they've done nothing since. So the Cowboys won a ton, and then they now cannot win anything in the playoffs. So we'll see. That rumor came from a not very close friend of George. Yeah, I mean, it is a rumor. It's speculation. It's not fact, but it just seems like, yeah, he hasn't written much. So I don't know. When reshoots delay the release, it shows there's a problem. Yeah, and then like this is the thing. So we had a discussion with the Dragon Demands with Ricky, and at the time I was very mixed. I thought that it could be because of HBO Max rebrand. I thought it could be because of HBO incompetence. I thought it could be all this different stuff. And I think as time has gone on, the idea that it's just because of HBO Max seems very unlikely, given that reshoots are we're into September and the reshoots haven't ended yet. And I asked Dragon Demands about that specifically because I wanted to fact check myself a couple weeks back. Maybe not a couple weeks, maybe a week or two maybe ago. And yeah, they're still in reshoots. That hasn't like stopped yet. So if the show was originally supposed to come out in October or November of this year, and we're still reshooting a month out from when it was originally supposed to release, tells you they were not confident with the product releasing by the end of the year. I have a question, Grease. Is someone interested in films and shows? Do you usually film scenes out of order? Because the first scene shot for the Potter series was the zoo scene, apparently. So I'm not somebody that is like a huge person that, like, I have limited experience in terms of actually shooting things, in terms of like a movie or, whatever. But no, you don't film things in direct order. So I didn't personally, but I was a part of a show that ran at my college. I would basically do a segment, and then during class we would do labs where we would film, the in-between stuff, right? So the in-between stuff between when a segment would play. And so you would do that stuff in terms of, not relevance, but in terms of convenience. So if you had to shoot 3 things outside, you would do all the stuff outside to get that stuff done, and it's all closer usually together. Then you would do the stuff inside. It just depends. You don't film things from the beginning and then you go to the end. That's just not how things work, usually. But, yeah. I'm going to watch Harry Potter movies right now. Well, enjoy your watch of the Harry Potter movies, and thank you for stopping in. George definitely watches Preston and Red Team Review. There's way too many coincidences between their videos and George's blog posts. I agree. And it makes sense, right? They're two of the biggest creators, and they talk almost exclusively on their podcast about all things George R. R. Martin news. So obviously at some point that probably is going to leak to him. But my biggest fear is that George ever discovers my channel, and then he goes to the video column and he presses popular, and he just sees a bunch of videos that are like Winds of Winter may never come out type stuff. So I don't know. Boots, I also care about those characters. They're good characters. Bye, Sky Dragon. I saw they greenlit Harry Potter for 2 seasons because they'll know by the end of season 2 if it'll perform well. Yeah, they also got to, this is the hard thing about shooting a show like Harry Potter or Percy Jackson, or even Dunk and Egg, is you need your young actors to stay relatively young for it to make sense from year to year so that the actors still look the same. So you just kind of have to do that. Made it back for a live stream in Greece for 3 weeks. Finally back. Can't wait to catch up on all the content. Well, Paul, enjoy. Thank you for being a member. But yeah, welcome back. Hope you had a great trip. A smarter decision than commissioning 5 seasons of Rings of Power. I have no idea how that show has been greenlit for more than 2 seasons, but, Hi, Ghost. How are you? So, like, I don't know a ton about the Harry Potter situation with the show. All I know is from things that I've heard. From what I've, heard and what I've seen, the actor seems like a fantastic actor. Like, my idea of why I don't think that actor should be Snape has nothing to do with his actual ability to perform as the character. It's just the dynamic completely changes, right? And it gets into some very racial issues that I don't think were ever present in Harry Potter. Like, for instance, so Snape as a character, when he's younger, gets bullied by the Four Marauders. I guess this is spoilers for Harry Potter. Yeah. It just kind of changes the dynamic. and I don't like that because I was never there, you know? I don't know. It's a tough conversation I don't really want to get into because I'm not a Harry Potter channel and all that, and it's not like I'm not somebody that's gonna be like, oh, I'm not watching the show because of it. It's just something I'm a little concerned about, like how will that dynamic work in the show, and I'm very open. I'm still very open to it, but I don't know. To me, it's just I think it's a mind-boggling casting. Given HBO was like Harry Potter, the show is going to be very lore accurate. We're going to be focused on the books. We're going to do what the movies couldn't do. I'm also somebody that didn't really feel like the show was needed. Like I think the movies are already great, albeit they're not perfect. They missed a lot of stuff from the books. There's definitely some stuff you need to explore. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. 2022 was Song of Ice and Fire at its most peak. House of the Dragon Season 1 got a lot of Game of Thrones fans back, and we also got that 1,100-page update. Since then, we've slipped back into reality and cynicism. Yeah, and I mean, 2022 was not the heights of my channel, but it's like when my channel grew. So 2021 was the first year that my channel started. I didn't really start diving into A Song of Ice and Fire content till the back end of 2021, and then 2022 throughout the year was a very good year for my channel specifically. Like it's where I got into being 1,000 subscribers, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, 2022 was a good time. I would say probably my best year for the channel was probably last year, surprisingly. Like the House of the Dragon Season 2 did help my channel a lot, and then this year has been pretty solid, but yeah. I don't know anything about the Dumbledore casting in terms of like having real thoughts on it, but yeah. Sorry to hear, man. HBO, a bunch of assholes. I can't speak. I think they have better things to do than bully YouTube creators. Well, here's the thing. So this is the way that this system works. The YouTube algorithm, or not algorithm, but the YouTube system is AI. It'll AI check your video, and then it'll basically alert probably maybe somebody else that's also AI that isn't actually a person, and they'll go, oh, yep, that's claim. We're going to claim that. They don't look at a manual person. So think about this. When you go to dispute your claim about it being fair use, it's usually probably not even a person that reviews your content. And think about this, like, think about if you were a creator, let's say you had 200,000 subscribers, and you were somebody that took, let's say you uploaded one video a month, but it was a video that did really well. It did, millions of views, whatever, and that was like your income. This is something that would cripple you, and you have literally absolutely no power over it. That's the problem with this YouTube system. We need wins. There's only so many times we can discuss the same theory. Who wrote the pink letter? Is Tyrion a Targaryen? Yeah, agreed. And Philip, that's the problem I've found with, like, as I've tried to come up with fresh ideas. It's like at some point, it's all I'm doing is I'm going back and I'm like rewatching old videos that I made myself, and then going, okay, how can I update this, make it better, improve it? And like, yeah, my editing style has gotten better, my audio has gotten better. Like, there's certain things that's like, the improvement, the quality of it is going to be better, but it's still like rehashing the exact same stuff. Just it looks better, or it's presented better. So I agree with you, Philip. And like, I don't blame people that are just like they don't want to watch anymore because it's the same stuff over and over again. Domenico, we love to see that cope. I will never hate on anybody's cope. If that's what gets you through, I feel good. How would we even react to a wins announcement at this point? I would say disbelief. Like let's say George R. R. Martin, October comes and he goes, hey, Winds of Winter, it'll be out by December. I would be shocked. New readers still watch those theory videos since they're new to the fandom, but then aside, yeah, we've essentially scrapped the bottom of the barrel in the same old theories. Yeah, like those are the only people coming to the community. The only people that come into the community are people that are just reading the series, like they're young, like they're old enough to where they start the series, then they go online, or maybe they watch the show for the first time, or House of the Dragon gets people back in, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. That's actually really cool about the audiobooks for the Harry Potter books. I've only listened to the first one. I read the audiobook on Audible or I guess listened to the first one, which was really cool. But yeah, they're doing reshoots because they gotta get Zell's puppet show right. It's just too important. Fair is fair. I hope the show is good, and I hope it improves it. I think if George was to announce wins, it wouldn't be such a huge spectacle like the whole Direwolf reveal. It would just be straight to the point, probably through. Are you trying to say through a non-blog post? I think it would be definitely played up. I think that it would definitely be played up. I don't get why, if he's so stuck, why not move on and do Dunk and Egg novellas? There's quite a large part of the fandom who'd actually prefer that, and he could probably do 2 or 3 novellas a year. So the problem, George, is that if he did that, yes, there are people that would love that. I would love if we got Dunk and Egg novellas, all that kind of stuff. I disagree with the idea that there's a good amount of, I think most of the community would just respond to George like, where's Winds of Winter? I think that George releasing the Dunk and Egg novellas does nothing to relieve the pressure that he feels of finishing the book. And I guarantee you he would love to. I guarantee you if you told George right now, the fan base wants you to make the novellas, don't make Winds of Winter right now, he would be happy to do so because it's easier to write. I think he really enjoys making those, but that's not what the community wants. So whenever I hear George say he has a big announcement, I assume it's something else, not Winds related. Yeah, and that's the problem. Honestly, I don't know if I'll ever stop watching A Song of Ice and Fire theories. It's like a sickness. All my friends think there's something wrong with me. I don't blame you. I mean, I make videos on this stuff. Like, think about how much time every week I spend with Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire content. I don't blame you. But I mean, for like the general audience, Kirsty, that's just not the same. Like, and that's kind of why I made that video, like about Song of Ice and Fire dying, is that if we don't see some sort of correction in the next year, whether that's the show improving with both the Night of the Seven Kingdoms and then also with House of the Dragon, it's going to be a rough couple years until something happens. Yes, George knows some YouTubers, most definitely. I don't think George has a positive opinion on Preston and Red Team, though. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not inside George's head. I know how he reacted to one singular video, and this is the other part of it, right? You can watch one video of a creator, and maybe you see a part of it, and you might just not like them, but you don't have, like, the full picture. So, it's hard, because if I could say the same thing about my content. If George watched, like, one of my more popular videos, which is, like, why the Winds of Winter may never come out. It wasn't a video saying it won't, but it was saying, like, why it might not. Like, because of George's age and the lack of, how far we've gotten. He might not like me either. And I love A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm doing a reread every single week where I'm breaking down a chapter of his, or I've done well over, like, 1,000 YouTube shorts or a stream or a video, like one of those. I love his world. It's just, I think you could click on one individual video and it could completely shape how you view that person. George might see the Frey love, and maybe he'll be like, hey, these guys are deep readers, and they understand the story that the Freys are complex individuals. Yeah, Twist, I definitely think that could be something on his mind as well, about the idea that watching all these great things that George had in his mind, and them not go anywhere, like the Hold the Door sequence, great sequence, great moment, but then it goes nowhere. So, no, you're fine, Big Bang Theory, about the Harry Potter stuff. I would just, I'm giving my general thoughts on it. Like, I don't have strong opinions on things, so. Because I'm not in that space. I'm somebody that's much more casual when it comes to the Harry Potter show. Like, I've read the books. I read them within the last 2 years. Again, I'd read them before, but I reread them like 2 years back. So I'll watch the show, and I might cover it on a second channel. But, yeah. Yeah, I discovered you, Grease, at the end of 2022 during your first 25 days of Christmas for A Song of Ice and Fire. Definitely was a good year. Yeah, it was a good year. I really liked doing that, especially because it was the first year, and the first year was a lot easier. I had a lot of things I could choose from characters, and we're going to be walking into 2025, or not, well, not walking into 25. We're going to be walking into, what are we in, year 4 of 25 Days of Winds of Winter? Back then, when I started the first year, I thought we weren't never going to get to a year 4. I have no idea what I'm doing for year 4, by the way. I've thought about it. I'm sitting here and I'm like, it might be minor characters that like people don't even know at this point. Like I've already gone through 50 characters, even more, because some of them had multiple characters. Like we're starting to scrape the barrel with Winds of Winter characters. So, but yeah, I appreciate you, Ghost. You've always been a long time guy here. You know, you've been doing your thing. Yeah, Ginny was not a good character in the movies. Where do you cover Percy Jackson? So I'm not sure, actually. I covered the first season on my second channel, which I believe is linked in the description. It is called Eric Reviews. It has like 355 subscribers, so I'm like not anything crazy. But I did Lord of the Rings content on there for a little while. And then I covered the first season. Let me see if I've read the description. It is not. I took it out. So if you want to find it, it is Eric Reviews. I believe it is a linked channel on my homepage. Let me see real quick. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of my homepage, it's in my featured channels. If you really want to watch it, not good quality. I'll just throw that out there right now. But that's where I covered the first season. The second season, I might just create a whole new channel because it would just be easier to do. Like I'm not trying to get back into the algorithm. So I might just like make a general, like, I don't know, review channel again. I don't know. We'll see. Do you think the hype will be there, Greece, if Winds is announced? Yes. Winds of Winter would be the most anticipated book since Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. So yes, 100%. Like for instance, I'm someone that loves the Hunger Games books, and I was now there for we're not there like physically, but like I was awaiting the last book that just came out, and I saw a ton of hype for it online. Take that, multiply it by 10, that would be what Winds of Winter would be. So, you know, we'll see. Hi Dakota, how are you? You got name dropped in JC's stream. I didn't see that one coming. You know, that was a little crazy. But yeah. I don't think I'll ever get tired of talking about all things Westeros. I hope I don't either. I do worry about if we get 5 years in the future and I'm doing my Dance with Dragons reread, or Feast. Feast, I like Feast. But when I get to the reread, every video is going to be an hour and a half long. Every single one. Those chapters are massive. So reread, I might be a little drained. I don't know what I'm going to do if I'm going to make it, you know, once every 2 weeks. Because, man, putting out an hour and a half video probably every week is going to be exhausting. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. What do you think of Preston's Winds of Winter fanfic? I have not listened to it. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what is involved in it. All I know is that Preston Jacobs puts a lot of time into it. I've heard him talk about it. So, yeah, I mean, I respect him, and I respect all the things he's doing there. I know he takes a ton of time into it. I just don't know anything about it, really. Also, hi, Kara. Hi, Maz. Hi, Agor. Welcome back, my bitter man. I missed you. You know, we need that Blackfire representation in the chat sometimes. What are we discussing today? We're kind of discussing the future of A Song of Ice and Fire, related to the shows and also Winds of Winter not really coming out. I have high hopes for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. House of the Dragon Season 3 is a different story. Yeah, Kara, I really want A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms to be really good. I think as we're getting closer to it,
the Lannisters and their regards.
I'm a little worried. Thank you for the super chat. I need to move that because it's kind of, you can't really see it all that well. So let me remove that. Let me move it over here. I'll cover my face next time. So yeah, you guys don't have to see my face. What was your super chat, Sheldon? The Dursleys were cast great in the show. Well, thank you for the super chat. I don't know anything about their casting. So yeah, but thank you again for the super chat. I hope that the Harry Potter castings are all great. We will actually read a conclusion of this series written by Preston and not by George. My thing with ever getting into a fanfic is it's not George's, so I just don't care. Like, yes, I think it's awesome. It's super creative that you're doing your own thing. You're writing the story, whatever. It's not George's, so like, what's the point? like that's how I view it. Like say for instance, you know, Preston's putting all this time into this fanfic, all this stuff. Like let's say Winds of Winter comes out in the next 5 years or whatever. Like what, or say whatever we have, like the 75%, it could then like almost make his fanfic irrelevant depending on how much he gets right, how much he doesn't get right. It's a cool idea. Don't get me wrong. I for me, it's not something I'm going to get invested in because it's not George's. So yeah, it's not for me. Coming to you live from the shower. Well, I don't know. I'll tell you. I am not excited for House of the Dragon anymore because no nettles. They are messing with the source material for no reason at all. Like, I think that's part of it for me. Like, obviously, the show no longer cares about the source material. But I think it's more to do with the idea that the show itself is illogical and doesn't make sense. Like, the characters they've established don't make sense. The plot lines they've done don't make sense. It's not anything to do with, like, the book. I would love them to adapt the book well, but they haven't. So, I don't know. Quinn the GM did a video about releasing the Essos plot of Winds separately, seeing as that's likely mostly done. I do think that'd be a good thing to do. It'd help, too, by actually getting stuff locked in. George, I love Quinn's take. I disagree completely with that take. I don't think that's the case at all. Daenerys, as a plot line, does not seem to be, like, done or close. Like, I can't even remember the last time I've heard George talk about Daenerys' plot line. Hers is by far one of the hardest for George to write alongside of a character like Bran. Dany has so much she has to do. So the idea that we're just going to say Daenerys, like all the Essos stuff in one book, not only would I think that not work, I would hate that. Think about it like this. You've been waiting 14 years to see the end of, or to see the conclusion of the Battle of Steel, or of the Battle of Ice, the stuff in the north, to see what was going to happen with Jon. Could you imagine if George dropped a book that basically had the worst plot lines of Dance? The Dany plot line was okay in book 5, but it wasn't like a highlight of it. Tyrion's plot line was horrible for the second half. Arya, how are you going to do Arya? You would assume like the first half of her arc is going to be in Essos, and the second half would be in Westeros. So how would you do that? Like, I don't like that idea just because the idea then would be you're not going to see Stannis' whole plot for 20 years. Over 20 years from Dance's, when Dance is finished to when Winds of Winter Part 2 comes out. I think the idea is interesting, but I don't think it makes sense. Like, in terms of the amount of disappointment I would have if we waited 14 years and we got only the Essos plots would drive me insane. Like, it would be different if George did this. If George gave us like what we believe the conclusion of Dance is, so like the conclusion of all the different battles, the Jon stuff, and then he then went into the like the stuff with Essos, that could make sense. But I don't know. There's just so much there that I think that leads up a lot of questions, George. Anyone that says Dunk and Egg is not good, I don't know what to tell you. Your brain cells don't work. Sometimes we get out of pocket on these streams, and that was one of those. But still, Dunk and Egg is fantastic. Dunk and Egg is my least... Like, it is my lowest ranked of the books, but Dunk and Egg is fantastic. The only reason I have Dunk and Egg as my number 7 is straight up because it's, like, shorter than the rest, and I love everything else so much that with Dunk and Egg being so much shorter than all the rest, it gives me an out to go, okay, well, I love Fire and Blood, and it's, like, 800 pages. Well, Dunk and Egg's only, like, 300. I love it, but how do you compare to 800 pages of which I love in Fire and Blood? Love the main series. Like it's all great. Dunk and Egg is fantastic. What would you guys ask George for your one question? Wrong answers are welcome. So the problem with asking George a question, Twist, is you want to ask him a question he can actually answer. So if you say, what is going to happen to this character in Winds of Winter? He's not going to answer. Or, anything along those lines. So you have to pick something that George would answer, but he could answer. So my question, which JC was going to try and ask George, but of course, because of the assembly line, the way that stuff works, my question for George would be, there would be one of these two. One of them would be, will we ever see more of what was in the letter to Aegon? So will, for instance, one of the Martells bring it up? Like, will we get more into what actually occurred there? Will we see any more of that through the Aegon the Conquest show? Is there more of it? Not asking what the answer is, because he's not going to tell you. But will we see more of it? Will there be more of a conclusion there, or will George keep it very open-ended? The other question would be about Maegor. I would ask George, what was Maegor's relationship like with Aegon? Because we don't see much of that in Fire and Blood. It's not described at all. So I'd ask him for like more details into what Maegor's like childhood was like. Like, was it similar to Joffrey's, where like Joffrey really only had his mother, like Robert wasn't very present in his life? That's a question that I would ask. Those would be two that I think George would give me a good answer on, and maybe there would be something new there that we don't know that he could actually say. I would not want to see a show in Old Valyria over Dunk and Egg. I'd be too worried that they were gonna screw it up. Also, Mats, that's how you know you're a real Grease Goblin viewer right there. Asking what was in Aegon's letter. He wouldn't answer that, but it's a good question to ask. Create a 25 Animals of Winter series. Sir Pounce. I don't think there's enough for that. That would be a crazy time. Could you imagine I announced 25 Days of Winds of Winter and it's just, let's talk about the animals. Well, okay, you know what? I could do all the dragons. Even though they're dead, and that makes no sense with 25 Days of Winds of Winter, because it's supposed to be about, like, something relevant to Winds of Winter, and the dragons are not relevant outside of, like, 3. But I could cheese it. I could definitely cheese it. Also, don't think you guys are going to see the cat this stream. I think last time I saw her, she was sleeping, but you guys may see Rhea at some point. She's a lot more active at night, so when we get to the Dunk and Egg reviews later in the night, you'll probably see her. But yeah. Where will House of the Dragon season 3 end? I think it will end, I'm not going to say any spoilers, but with a certain main character's death in a certain battle that happens in the book. Maybe that is combined or altered. That's where I think season 3 will end. Generally. Do you believe, George, that he finished 75% of the Winds of Winter? So George didn't necessarily say that. That's a rumor from somebody else that maybe got information from him on that. But that's basically where he's been around for the last 2 or 3 years. So 75% is what we were reported told. Doesn't surprise me. It's where he's been at for years now. One frustrating thing about Winds is that it isn't just a barrier to concluding A Song of Ice and Fire, but it's also a bottleneck for concluding Dunk and Egg and Fire and Blood. Yeah, I mean, if you want to even go a step further, it's a barrier to new readers. It's a barrier to new viewers. Like, A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones have a stigma to it that you don't want to get into it, either the show or the book, because the show, is it really worth watching because the ending is so bad? Like, I've seen that. I've heard it so many times in real life. The book, I've had people that like to read, that liked the show, they won't read the book because I don't want to get invested in a series where we don't have an ending. And it looks like there's no ending in sight. That's the barrier. And that's why I think as the years go on, there will be less and less people that get into the series if those things, don't change. Like, if the shows don't get better and, have a good quality to them. If the series never concludes, it won't be Lord of the Rings, where Lord of the Rings will live on, I think, forever. Like, I think the books are classics. People will always read them. New people will pick those up because of what they are. To fantasy, the Lord of the Rings movies will live on forever. Those will always be viewed, extremely well. Those will never die. That is the staple of legacy. Like, Tolkien and Peter Jackson's legacy because of those projects will live on forever, in my opinion. George's is not the same. Like, I think George, like, say George's legacy was what it is, what right now, with House of the Dragon where it is, and the series where it is. I think George will always be viewed as a great fantasy writer, but not, like, I don't think he'll be remembered as well 100 years down the road when everybody that knew him is gone. People that are, read his stuff during the time are gone. Like, it won't carry that same weight as like Tolkien. Matt's, I don't even think that's possible because a lot of theories contradict each other. So, like, say he legitimized N plus A and then also R plus L, that's not possible. So, just to think that next month we'll get a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms with a premiere date. Yeah, it's cool that we're getting closer to a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I'd really like to hear the news that they're done shooting stuff, but I'm really looking forward to getting a trailer, all that kind of stuff. Preston is also adamant about his own theories, so I'd be hesitant to read his book unless George for sure never releases wins. Yeah, that's the other part of it is, like, I'm pretty sure he has Quentin alive to some degree in Winds of Winter in his fanfic. I just cannot get behind that theory. I can't get behind that at all. So right away, like, as soon as I saw Quentin, I'd be like, this doesn't make any sense now. I'm like, that's the other part of it is, like, to read a fanfic by Preston Jacobs, I'd have to buy into certain things that he believes to be correct that I don't agree with. So, I don't know. I mean, you know what, JC, he's a writer. He's writing his own stuff. Maybe he should finish it. Also, I didn't know that, by the way, JC, that you were writing a book. That's really cool. That's really cool. I'll be very interested to see it. I've seen people who watch only House of the Dragon without reading the book, and they love Rhaenyra and think she's a saint, which gives me a headache. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very common that people, have only watched House of the Dragon and not read Fire and Blood. Fire and Blood's not a popular book compared to the rest of the series, so that doesn't really surprise me. But yes, I really hate the way Rhaenyra has been depicted in the show as the good character, and that's not what she's supposed to be. I was looking forward to Rhaenyra so much in season 2, and that was one of the biggest disappointments of the season is they did nothing with it. Kirsty, I have no idea on that conspiracy idea. I have no idea. I don't want to listen to Preston's fanfic because, like you said, it's not George's, it's not canon. It's the same idea of, like, I don't really want anyone else to write George's story. Like, even if George says somebody else is going to write it, the rumor has always been people want Brandon Sanderson to write it, whatever. I would sit here and go, it's not George's. So, I've said this before and I stand by it. Essos is where plot lines go to die. Yes. I think for the most part, that's kind of true. Arya got far less interesting when she went to Essos. I know people contest that. I know Becky really likes Arya and Essos. I like Arya to a degree, but I will not deny that I love her way more in the first 3 books. I think she's good in book 5. Like, she is very good in book 5. But would I rather have Arya in Essos or Westeros? Westeros, 1000%. Daenerys, she starts in Essos, so it's very different, but she's very hit or miss. Tyrion went from being the best POV to, like, maybe the worst of a book anyway. So, The Winds of Winter, Chapter 1, Quentin Reborn, and that is when we know it's time to stop. Henry, I would not want to voice any characters. I'm not a voice actor. I would not want to do that because I would want people that are really good at that profession to do that. So I would say no. I would not want to be in it. Will we see Mad King Grease if Winds of Winter showed up or showed only Essos plot stuff? Like, I would still be excited. I would still be happy, but I can't deny I'd be disappointed. I can't sit here and, go, this is what we waited 14 years or whatever, and we still don't know what happened to the Stannis plotline. We still don't know, like at that point, I would just be like, okay, I'm happy we're getting something, but, like, really? Like, we led with the Essos plot? Like, I don't know. Do you think the King's Landing plot will be good? Yes. I think it'll be a strong point of the book. Cersei's a great POV. The young Griff stuff is about to start happening. I think it's going to be good. Dakota, you should read them. There's a fray. There is a fray in the Duncan Egg novellas. I'll say that. Seeing as Tyrion is finished, George has to at least know where her story is going. I'd rather get the Essa storyline on its own than nothing. I agree. A Dan's conclusion book would work better. You're like, this is the way I would see it. George is like, we know that George wrote a lot of stuff concluding Dance. That's why he got so much progress done, and why he had a lot of pages early on was because a lot of it was finishing Dance. So we had to conclude Barristan's plot line with the Battle of Fire. We had to conclude Stannis's plot up in the north. Well, not conclude it, but at least get through the opening phases of the Battle of Ice. Maybe he then had plans as to what was going to happen with the Winterfell conflict, Jean's resurrection. Well, that you don't necessarily need in a conclusion to Dance, but I can see that being part of a Winds of Winter like conclusion type style book. The stuff with young Griff ends on a really weird note, like doesn't end normally. I think there's some stuff with Cersei you could continue on with. Like, I just think that when you know that George has so many chapters of all these different plot lines, like he's talked about writing Cersei, Jaime, sub chapters like that, it would feel really weird to just sit on those once again. Dakota, that is shocking if you've only watched the shows. That is very surprising. Do you think Dunk and Egg will be better than House of the Dragon since George is more involved? I hope so. I mean, I haven't seen the show. We've gotten almost no news about the show, so I can't really say anything on that, but I have higher hopes for Night of the Seven Kingdoms comparatively to where both are right now. House of the Dragon Season 1, I still look on fondly, and there were some great things in there, so Night of the Seven Kingdoms has got to prove itself first, Joey, before I'll say something like that. But, yeah. George not even being optimistic is a sign the Winds of Winter is probably at least a decade away. Like, yeah, that's not, like, he doesn't seem like it's coming out anytime soon. Good questions, Cannibal. I like those. Are there any chapters that you genuinely dislike, hate? I know people tend to not like Eris Oakheart or Quentin, but I completely disagree. George, I dislike Quentin's first 2 or 3 chapters. Like, I just think they're completely unnecessary. Like, if I was doing a Dance Dragons reread and it wasn't for YouTube, like, if it wasn't for, like, so for instance, last time I read a Dance Dragons, it was for my retrospective series. If I was rereading it right now, I would probably skip Quentin's 2 or 3 chapters at the beginning. I hate those chapters. I think those are bad chapters. I don't think that's like, oh, they're just, not as good as, no, I think those are bad chapters. Tyrion's chapters after the young Griff sequence. So him and Volantis with Jorah, even some of the slave stuff is, to me, some of George's worst writing in A Song of Ice and Fire. I think those chapters are bad. I wrote those down as my worst in the entire series when I did my retrospective where I ranked all the chapters. Those were obviously, like, I think that's the one thing with Dance to me is that Dance has some of the greatest chapters of the series, has some of the worst of the entire series. And, like, it's not even close. Like, there is no chapter in A Clash of Kings, Game of Thrones, Storm of Swords that are even comparable, in my opinion, to how much I dislike Quentin and Tyrion's chapters and Dance. I think Feast, I would say Sam's middle chapters, like 2, 3, and 4, are not, like, they're not on that same level. I don't dislike them. I think they're, like, not great. I think they're fine. But those are also some weaker chapters as well. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know we're losing frames. I've seen that at the beginning of the stream. I don't know. I can't control it. I don't know if it's my computer, if it's lag, whatever. But, yeah. Also, thank you for stopping in, Dakota. I think, Matt's, that Song of Ice and Fire has a lot of great themes that could be timeless. It's just the series not having a conclusion. It's just not going to live the test of time, in my opinion. I think that there will always maybe be a fan base for the community, but I think it'll go down as the years go by if nothing else changes. D23, I think that would be a good idea as well. You know, if he had a group of writers, they put their heads together and really ironed out this book, I think that could help a lot. Yeah, Maz, I could see George answering that question about the letter like that, but I don't know. I'd probably follow up with, will be like, in